Hi everyone, and welcome to this special reflection episode of Inside the Third Space. My name is Zara. I am an education developer at the Faculty of Medicine and Health, and today I am joined by the rest of the Inside the Third Space podcast team. Today we're going to look back on how it all started, what we've learned along the way, and what's next for our community. You're probably used to listening to us on the podcast, but because today is our final episode for the year, we've decided to make it a Christmas edition. And so we thought that we would all dress up in our Christmas wear. And if you would like to see what we look like, you can watch our video on YouTube. So let's start off today by reflecting on how this project actually first came about. So let me turn to Morgan, who is an education developer from the Faculty of Engineering. Hi. What do you think in terms of how the project of Inside the Third Space podcast actually came about?
So it's a long story, even though it might not seem like it to the listeners. We actually were planning it for quite a long time in advance of when we actually started putting episodes out. It came out because of this. So we're on this thing called the Nexus Project, which I don't know if we've ever actually explained on the podcast. We might have, but it's basically the idea is that you get a whole bunch of like ed devs and education focused academics together who are from different faculties, and there's it's a common problem I think at a lot of institutions where sort of faculties act as their own kind of islands and they don't talk to each other very much. And the idea was to make a space for these people to sort of all work together on common projects. And in doing that, we kind of realized, I think, maybe like how isolated we were and how there was not just like isolated from each other, but also kind of a little bit isolated within academia. And then someone, maybe Deanna, or sort of floated this or introduced us to this notion of third space, which is a thing that now we've been sort of like preaching to everyone, like a lot of people saying like, oh, third space. Oh, I understand now what this idea is, this intersection of academia and professional staff. And then definitely you pitched the idea of doing it as a podcast, I think, as a special for a digital, like a third space symposium. And then at the end of that little run of podcasts, we kind of went, oh, why don't we just keep doing it? Because it's like heaps of fun. I don't know. Deanna, do you have anything more to add on the symposium, the origin story?
Yeah.
How'd you come up with it?
That's right. Like at that time, we were only thinking to do it for the Ascalite, the Third Space Symposium at the end of last year. And we were thinking, oh, let's do 4 and then like put it out there and then we can do this as part of that.
How did you, I guess I don't think I've ever actually asked you why did you come up with let's do it as a podcast? What was the...
Oh, yeah. Of course, we like as an ed devs, we definitely want something that is more creative, something that is, I would say, not normal. Like, like you see like what is written like through scholarship, maybe like peer article, journal. It's just a normal thing. And that time we were thinking, oh, what can be the output that is more... something that is out there that might be helpful for other third spacer. And we found that, oh, maybe let's do podcasts because people listen. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, Morgan, you mentioned we realized that there was some connection between us that wasn't just being a part of this Nexus program, but it was something else, and talking about being in the third space and what it actually meant to be in the third space. I might introduce Neil, who's an education developer from the Faculty of Science.
Hello.
Do you want to talk us a bit about what it is, the being in the third space, and how that kind of came about to connect to this podcast?
I guess, yeah, I mean, talking about the third space to me, it's been a long journey to get here, like we've all kind of said already, in the fact that when you find out about the third space, you kind of have that light bulb moment and say, oh, yeah, this is me. This is the people I identify with, and this is where I want to be. And it was only till I got to Nexus that I kind of realized that, but kind of reflected that I'd been in the third space pretty much all my time I've been at university, even in technical roles and other roles as well. And then meeting with you guys as well in the Nexus program and being ed devs in that space kind of solidified that. And what was quite nice in that space is that a lot of us were ed devs for the first time. And so there was 24 of us or whatever the number is. And some of us were ed devs for the first time. And so we were kind of finding our way in that space as well. And so the third space really kind of ring true for me there. And we were able to grow into that space together and find our way, because a lot of us had common problems and common issues in that space that a lot of third spaces do, and that recognition, that visibility. And so it was good. The best thing about this podcast in relation to the third space and the events that we've done, like the panel discussion we did last year, was people would just come up to you and say, I've never heard of the third space before, but now I get it and I understand it and I want to be part of it. And that's kind of pretty much every time we've done a talk for the podcast, people have said that. They said, I didn't know about the third space before, but that talk or listening to this podcast made me realize that and made me want to come on and share my story. So I think the podcast has been really good for people with a third space story to tell, and for others to understand where they come from.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think it's definitely contributed to really growing this community, which I think really needed to be seen in a way, because there's so many people that are a part of us, a part of our community, and don't really realize that they are. So Agni, who is an education developer from the Faculty of Science as well. Hello. What do you think that term of being in the third space means to you now? And I say now, having been in this third space for the last at least year, or maybe you felt like you were in it for longer than that, but at least with this recognition of being in the third space.
Yeah, before answering to your question, I'll jump back to resonating to what Neil said. Like when he said the light bulb moment, that's exactly what I had when he shared a paper and I read about it. And then it was about a technical staff going through her issues and then finding her place in third place. So third space, finding her place in third space. So that's how I related that third space to myself as well. So it was like the recognition, and although all of us are from different faculties and we are given the same education developer role, our day-to-day was different. And that was always something, and that's always something that intrigues me to think. So we do different stuff, but we are put in the same pocket, if you can say. And that when we try to explain that, or like when others understand that they have been going through that, and then they have that understanding of, wow, I feel I'm in third space, and I feel that community. That's what gave me the most satisfaction, because I found my community in this third space, inside the third space, and in this Nexus third space education developer role, which I felt very supported, and like we supported each other, which was the most thing that I was missing in my previous roles, because one thing that's workload and the other, and then the recognition that you don't get, and just talking about it, just talking to each other about how our day is or what we do, and getting that recognition back made me feel that that's the community that I was looking for.
Yeah, what's been really great, I think, for us as well, is how our community has grown, not just in Nexus, now that we have other people from other spaces, and you can see in the podcast the different people we have talking there. But now the community was the 8 of us doing it at the beginning. Now we have that channel with like 40 odd people now, and it's a very thriving channel. We talk about lots of different stuff, and it's just a very supportive place to be. And it's just nice that we've kind of grown out organically from those beginnings before.
Yeah, and it's...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry. And I was just wanted to add, and it's just not education development. It's from the manager's role, from every hierarchy, people felt that connection. That was priceless to hear from hosting the podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's interesting that because we all have the same nominal title, and yet our day to day is so different. It's interesting then when you get people into the studio and do a podcast with them, how many of like sort of common things come out. Like the issues that we face are often very similar, even though realistically our day to day is incredibly different. And I think that's one of the things that sort of like makes you kind of feel like you're in part of a third space thing, is that when you listen to the podcast and you go like, oh, you know, that I totally have that as well. You know, it's
I think, Morgan, you make such a good point in reference to just our identity as a third space professional, and how that's sort of developed along the way, how we've kind of shaped this identity as a community, which is really great. It's great to know that there are so many people who are in almost very different roles, but going through the same challenges as us. So I might introduce us to John, who is also an education developer from the Faculty of Medicine. John, what do you think? Do you think how your identity has been shaped by the being in the third space?
Thank you, Sarah. As Morgan just mentioned, I think it's a community where you can share your experience. And then when you hear other people sharing their experience, you find, I'm actually experiencing the same thing. That itself is very powerful. It brings you to be part of the community. You feel like you're not alone to fighting those challenges. As we all know, in this age of AI and technology, there's a lot of things changing and happening. There's a lot of new challenges coming, especially for the third space role, where we are sitting in between academic and professions, and also including a lot of professional works as well. We are dealing with new challenges and technologies. And some of those frustration or some of those light bulb moments, all those experiences really shaped your role in the university. So for me to be part of this, I just feel like I'm part of a group, part of people I can be supported. I'm not doing the work alone. I can easily reach out to the people I know, maybe from a different faculty. So that's itself is just the connection and support I have.
And that's actually what I love as well, Sarah. So that chance to be able to collaborate with others. So that's what keep us going, actually. Not only within our own faculty, but beyond that, even not only looking at UNSW itself, we can even see with the networks out there. Now, because of what we are doing, we start having this connection with others from different university that were actually doing the same thing and talking about the similar thing on third space work, what third space is all about, all the role, the identity, or the contribution of us. So I'm really glad to be part of the community.
Yes, and I think it's also helped us be a part of or take part in various conferences, education-related conferences throughout the year. So we've been really grateful to attend different conferences across the last year or so, and actually work on papers and research that contributes to our areas of interest, which still can be quite varying, even though we're all in the third space. But it's something that I think all of us actually really value, being able to go to those things and meet new people and make those connections and actually grow our community that way as well. And you could meet someone. So we went to Asalite last year. I think some of us are going to the conference again this year. We met people from universities, international universities, and we were speaking to them about, the presentations that we'd seen, and we realized that we actually have so much in common. It's not that you expect not to have things in common, but when you do make those connections, it's so, affirming in a way, and it makes you feel encouraged to do more of that work, and really builds that passion that I think all of us have, but finding the right people can really help that grow even more.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the finding people at conferences, finding third space people at conferences is always it's such a joy.
It's also good that we've been able to go to those conferences as well, and because it's always been a space that professional staff have maybe not found their voice there, or been able to express, or even the ability to go to those places in a conference where it's mainly an academic space. So it's been, I see, a very good thing that especially Nexus has allowed us to reach those spaces, and the third space in particular, to talk about the third space in those conferences and raise awareness, not just at our own institution, but other institutions as well.
So I guess we're hearing really strong themes of connection and this sort of cross-disciplinary work. And I guess that's the heart of our work as well, which is great. So we might turn to reflecting on the actual podcasts over the last year, and maybe sharing some of our personal reflections on how those have gone. We've done 11 podcasts, and this will be our 12th. And so and we've interviewed a range of different people. And so we just want to go around and maybe think about, were there any moments that struck out for us? Neil, are there any that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, like we said many times, interviewing these people on the podcast, everyone has a similar kind of story to tell, and you have that instant connection. But there's definitely been spaces where people have said individual expressions that I've connected with. I remember when we talked to Andrea, and the comment she said was, be like a sponge, which was her advice for people. And that really rang true for me, in the fact that, like, you just have to be open to everything in the first space. Like, you don't want to shut any avenue off that you have. Just grab anything you can, try and assimilate that knowledge, and build that into the framework you have to get to a better place, to move that skill set forward. And that really rang true for me.
Does anyone else relate to this? Be a sponge.
I mean, you got to, right? That's the thing. It's the things you're going to be expected to do are so widely varied. I mean, how many of us coming into this had any experience in like podcasting or video production? Like, not many. And it's a thing where you're just going to have to roll with it, and you have to find the people who know what they're doing and learn from them really fast. And sometimes it's even like the other way around. Sometimes it's like, I come from kind of that background. I come from the background of TV and audio and computer programming and stuff. And I had to roll into this education world and go and get really, really familiar with a lot of higher ed terminology very quickly. Going through the professional development stuff that we have here at UNSW was really helpful for that. But then just like talking to people, when you don't know something, you have to be like so willing to admit that you don't know it, and that can be really intimidating. Totally, you have to be a sponge. You have to have no ego.
Agni, was there any? Oh, you were going to say.
Yes. So I was going to say, similar to Be a Sponge, there were a few, like I think Emina, who was saying, keep rolling, go with the flow, or something around that, which was similar to Be a Sponge, go with the flow, and explore any opportunity that you get, which was very important for professional staffs, us, and education developers, and everyone who's in professional staff. Grab the opportunity and run with it. So that was something that resonated. And most of the themes, like there was always a commonality in all the podcasts, which was collaborative, be patience. Patience is important for third spaces because we work with different academics with different ideas of different understanding of what a professional staff does, which is always hard to break that barrier and go into their world. So that was a common theme which most of the guests resonated with, which I think it's our everyday challenge. But I think as third spacers, we go head in, headbutt. What do you say? Head first.
Yeah.
Head first, and then
Not headbutt.
and then,
Sometimes.
and then keep going.
one thing I noticed during the interview with other space profession is, although the title sounds very different, but in the end, we're actually doing very similar things. For example, we all work in high ed settings. We're all serving the students. So when we're talking about like what students experience in the university, how we can support that or make their experience better, I find all these roles are all joined together with the same goal. So sometimes I find third space is kind of like the big family that including everyone working to contribute to that goal to help with the students in the university settings.
Yeah, I actually remember that time when you interviewed Sarah Hamden, remember? And her role is a little bit different than all of us who are educational developers. Is more in engagement in the life, like so she straight away facing student facing, right? But then we actually having the same common theme of like trying to make sure that our student is actually have the best student experience while they are here at the university, right?
To add to that, I remember the podcast that I hosted. The guest was Samadhi, who was the ex-lead of Nexus. Even though she doesn't do hands-on educational developer work, even she felt she was in the third space because even she was a change agent. We are all like change agents, and we pushed that forward. So I think she was one of the first person who encouraged us to do the podcast as well. She gave the green flag, and she supported us in doing it. So thank you, Samadhi, if you're listening.
That's such a good episode, by the way. If you haven't gone back and listened to the back catalog, you got to go back and listen to at least that one. That's a great
Yeah.
I do want to sort of put out, we're all feeling very Christmassy, very jolly. But there's a thing that I think that is a common thing, and now I can't remember who said it really well, but they said sort of like a catch-22 about being taken seriously, where it's sort of like you go from having no qualifications. If you don't have a PhD, you're not taken seriously in academia. And so then once you go think maybe I should go and get a PhD, or I can go get some qualifications, and then you get those, but then you still find yourself in this place where you don't know everything, and you sort of come in and you're asking questions, and people now expect and go like, well, why don't you know what you're doing? You have a PhD. And so there's this thing where we sort of get stuck in this loop where we're not we're not taken seriously, or we're sort of dismissed because no one can quite enunciate what we do, and that's sort of put us out of mind. And I think that there's definitely some like common threads of like common challenges that third space people face that came through, and that was the one that really stuck in my mind.
So I was just going to say, it's interesting as well. You say, Morgan, that people don't know what we do, and it's hard for that to resonate. But like we said many times, it's sometimes hard for us to say what we do as well. It's hard for us to sum up what we do in one sentence. It's easy to describe to certain people because, like we said, we're all ed devs, but we all do something slightly different on that and work on slightly different projects. So it's that kind of catch-22 in the fact that if you don't know what you do, how can you tell other people what you do, and how can they understand what you do and collaborate properly?
Tell them to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, and I remember when I talked with Aaron St. James, he also mentioned that because of that categories, like you don't have PhD, then like how can you be determined on doing whatever role? But then the role that they can give him is actually a research officer, like that's the title. But he was mentioning, he's even still doing his undergraduate degree currently. But yeah, it's a challenge, right? Especially with nowadays all of this university with all the casualization as well. Like everyone's like, so he's been through, say, 14 casual jobs within the university. So I guess it's sometimes the challenge is there, but I remember, like which you already mentioned, the other people, including Aaron himself, was saying, like seize the opportunity. Like I guess as a third space, why we can like go moving forward together. I guess because we want to move along. Yes, and as what we already said, we have a great community. Let's do this together, guys.
Yes, certainly. I think the points you make, Morgan and Neil and Deanna, it's so true that we talk a lot about how being in this space helps us grow and connect and all of these things and explore opportunities. But something that's quite real of untrue to a lot of us in this community is that we have this challenge as well of not quite knowing what it means to be in this third space and how to describe that to people. And I think that's like I would see that as another benefit of being a part of this community, is because we can actually then talk to other people who feel the same or have the same kind of concerns or challenges, and not quite say vent about it, but be able to talk through what those issues are and come to those definitions more clearly with someone else, or talk about I don't know, a challenge that you've been having and that you maybe don't feel seen as this person, and you're not quite gotten your qualification, and so you don't know if you could apply for this job, for example. And I think that that's quite a real example of what happens in as a third spacer, is that you don't know if you are qualified to be this role or that role. Like, where do you actually fit, and is it somewhere in between? And if it's somewhere in between, then how do you describe yourself then? What do you do? Like, what your role is?
Imagine a world where when you tell someone that you're an educational developer, they don't ask, what's that? Oh, we can dream.
And you also know how to answer that question as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always get that in the party.
Yeah.
Do you, IT? You develop
Yeah.
something IT?
Yeah.
I'm like, nope. I
What do
don't
you
know
teach?
coding. Yeah, what do you teach?
So just thinking kind of beyond this podcast and what we've been doing in the last year in our community, what are the other kind of collaborations or outputs that have emerged from being in this community? I want to put it out to us.
I think the starting was the Slowposium for the Axelite.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to doing an education panel in UNSW Education Festival. And then the podcast continued until we decided to do a paper, right, Diana?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
We are still waiting for that paper. Like, hopefully it will comes up in it's their summer, which is our winter 2026. So yeah, that's with the perspective. Yeah.
Yep. And then with this whole effort, we started a community, the Third Space Casual Catch-Up Community, and I'll let Neil speak more about it.
I mean, there's not too much to say. It's really just a space where people who consider themselves third space, and that can be, like we said, not ed devs, any walk of life in higher education, can just have a space and talk about what their problems are, what their challenges are. But it's also very casual in the fact that, like, oh, I have this small problem, or I don't know what's the right software for this, maybe, and they can just chuck a question in and someone will answer it. And it's also very supportive. We're always trying to take photos of people when they're doing a presentation and like sharing this kind of, yes, you should do that. Yes, you should do that. You should definitely move forward with that. And it's just a very nice group. Yeah. It's very supportive and very encouraging and empowering.
And we learn a lot from each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, like, you even bring it forward, like, to your AXME, right, in the science?
So we were lucky enough. So Camille as well, who was kind of also one of the founders of this, her and I, we presented at AXME, which is the conference for science and mathematical education, about the third space and about a nexus. And it was a full room and people really liked the presentation. It was really, really nice. But what was the best part about it is the organizers of the conference asked us to come back and host a session just on third space. And that's what I did like 2 weeks ago. And we came back from that. And so we're starting to build the community outside UNSW and further afoot. And so, yeah, we just want to keep on that trail of bringing more people in and having more people have that light bulb moment and just carry on with this supportive community.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's things like that, going out and doing those presentations that really shows our kind of institutional impact as well, and how far we've come in that space. So as we look ahead, what is next for our Third Space community?
More podcasts, more catch-ups.
Yeah, community building.
More connections.
Yeah. I mean, we've got 1 year left in the Nexus program, which is a little daunting. But then there's things will go on, and we will probably go. I don't know. But I guess maybe we'll be cast to the wind like seeds from a tree, and we'll go spread the word and plant the seeds of Third Space and in the various. I make it sound so much like a cult every time I talk about it. Yeah, but I think that will be an interesting thing to think of. I guess not next year and the year after, but I don't know. I guess maybe we'll keep doing video stuff if this doesn't turn out to be too much of a nightmare.
Yeah, I think because now we have the casual catch-up community, we wanted to go beyond Nexus. So even if Nexus ends, it's ending in 2026. After that, the community will still go on supporting each other, and we'll come up with things from there.
Absolutely. Thank you to the team of Inside the Third Space podcast. So thank you, Morgan, Agni, John, Neil, Deanna, and also Nazrin and Ellie, who are also a part of the podcast team. Thank you also very much to Anne, who is from the PBCE, for filming this vodcast for us and making this amazing setup, and making us all look beautiful. Thank you, Anne. So to the listeners, thank you for tuning in to Inside the Third Space podcast, and thank you also to the viewers who are actually watching us today. So until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the third space.
Bye.